With a WWE star willing to welcome CM Punk back into the company and more, this is Wrestling Rambles. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we move on, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Rambles with notifications on, and don't forget to like the video. Teasing a character change in AEW for himself and his brother Jeff, Matt Hardy said on his Extreme Life podcast, "Let them go nuts, let them have fun. If you're one of those fans online that get mad that all the internet wrestling reporters post stuff and make headlines because we talk about interesting viewpoints, interesting opinions, if you get mad about all of that and you don't like me and you think I'm a pariah, fine, have it your way. There's plenty of people that don't, and those are the people that I am catering to now, because once again, even at AEW, myself and Jeff, we've been very, very nice for a long time. We were willing to give back and give back and give back, but now we really haven't been shown the respect that we should have been getting all along. So now we'll stop giving and we'll start taking. So we're not becoming heel, we are becoming real. You are going to see the most realistic version of Matt Hardy that you've ever seen coming up in the future. Revealing how much Brock Lesnar received from UFC for his final two fights, Ringside News wrote that although Brock Lesnar did big numbers for the UFC from 2008 to 2011, he made a lot more money in WWE. He left that UFC career behind him after returning to WWE in 2012. He was a brand new beast incarnate, and although he did return to the Octagon in 2016 for a win over Mark Hunt, he hasn't been back. In 2011, Lesnar would duke it out with Alistair Overeem at UFC 141. Lesnar would be defeated by Overeem in the first round via TKO. After the match, Lesnar would announce his retirement from UFC. According to a report from Bloody Elbow, Brock Lesnar was paid $3 million for the fight. Lesnar was paid $8 million for his fight with Mark Hunt in 2016, despite the fact that the result was overturned when Lesnar tested positive for a banned substance during a post-fight screening. When asked about the mixed reactions he has received from fans throughout his career, John Cena said on After the Bell, "I never cared about the noise. My biggest fear was apathy, that non-focused silence. There's the sound of focused silence, but that non-focused silence is when you're dead in the water. It was really one of my main points the last time we spoke when I was speaking about Austin Theory. Nothing I said about Austin Theory I wouldn't say to his face. We still talk on a regular basis, and I still try and bestow on him advice. I think he's working more toward connecting with the audience, but I could hear the silence of apathy when he would perform, and I know it is because I had it plenty. I single-handedly ruined the Ruthless Aggression era by completely failing, by being the Ruthless Aggression guy and completely failing. So I know what apathetic silence sounds like, and that was my one fear." Mentioning the fact that former NXT champion Bron Breakker has not yet been called up to Raw or SmackDown, Bully Ray said on Busted Open Radio, "I'm happy that they're holding off on calling up Bron Breakker. If they have ideas to bring him up in the near future, I'd hold off till the Royal Rumble. Bron is a second-generation wrestler. He has an amazing look. He has the it factor. He still has to develop more. He's still a bit one-dimensional to me, and that's fine. He's young. He's in the right place to develop, but if I'm bringing a young kid like that up, I want to do something with him that's truly going to stand out. I'm not suggesting that he wins the Rumble, but give Bron 10, 11, 12 eliminations. Make Bron Breakker the guy that has eliminated more guys in the Royal Rumble than anybody else before, despite being an NXT guy. Now, you have given him an accolade that he can hang his hat on." Speaking about a possible showdown between Sting and Ric Flair in AEW, Booker T noted on his Hall of Fame podcast, "You know what? I think that might be the perfect send-off. Let's do it. I mean, Ric Flair, Sting, one for old time's sake. Let's go out there and do it just one last time. Let's walk that aisle one last time. Let's style and profile Woo one more time. Limousine riding, jet flying Woo, son of a gun." If that was to happen, just like Ric Flair's last match, I think it had 8 or 9,000 people that showed up. If Ric Flair and Sting stepped in the ring one more time, they may have 20,000 people. 20,000 might want to come out and witness that spectacle just one more time. Just one more time Ric Flair makes that walk down the aisle. Just one more time with the Stinger. One more time, just the Crow Sting. I think if you're going to do it, he got to go back to the old Sting, Surfer Sting. There's a whole lot of value left in Ric Flair. I mean, just his image alone. He's doing so many things right now. At the age he is, he may be the oldest guy in wrestling that still walks through the airport with no wheelchair, no walker, none of that. I remember that conversation I told you I had with a Ric Flair around WrestleMania one time. Ric Flair told me that he would never retire, never gonna quit, and I believe him. I believe him because this is who he is. It's what he does. And then to bring that brand to AEW, it's gonna help those guys. It's gonna help them a whole lot. Staying on the topic of the Nature Boy now being a part of AEW, WrestleOps quoted Ric Flair from his interview with Variety as they wrote after the announcement of his signing to the company today. Ric Flair states that he's dying to go one-on-one with AEW World Champion MJF. "I'm dying to go one-on-one with MJF, man. It would get a rating too. Let's talk, young man." MJF would respond, writing, "How about a buried alive match?" With Kairi Sane making a return to WWE at Crown Jewel and helping Io Sky retain her women's title against Bianca Belair, details regarding her deal with the company were provided by Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, who said Sane's deal was done months ago, as were a couple of others such as Nia Jax and Lexis King. Sane was desired by WWE last year, but WWE couldn't make it happen for whatever reason. Reflecting on his previous interactions with Vince McMahon prior to the UFC and WWE merger, UFC CEO Dana White said on the Triggered podcast, "It's been an interesting relationship with Vince McMahon. I never saw Vince as competition, but I'm thinking Vince in his heyday, he saw everyone as competition. He was one of those guys that would stick it to me just to do it. We were about to do a deal with NBC, and it ends up we get to the 1-yard line, and Vince has the final say of who can go on USA Network and who can't if you're a combat sport. Lorenzo Fertitta and I flew out to Connecticut, sat down with him. We do all the small talk. We're doing a deal with NBC. Vince sits back like Vince sits. We're about to do this deal. We're about to have fights on NBC and everything else, but you need to sign off on it." Vince says, "Yeah, I'm not going to do that." We're like, "Why?" "I'm just not interested in it. I don't like the idea of you guys being on USA Network." The whole deal blows up. At the end of the day, it all worked out better. We ended up on Fox. That's just one of 10 times where Vince did it. Now, Vince and I are in business together, and Vince couldn't be a better partner now. Now, Vince has been an incredible partner. Literally keeps me in the loop with everything going on, making sure I'm cool with decisions that could affect the UFC. Asked about CM Punk potentially returning to WWE, commentator for the company Corey Graves said on the Kurt Angle show, "I'm amazed it took this long. It's been a few months for someone to actually throw this question my way. Usually I'm doing the hosting, so I'm asking everyone else. This is a fun turn of events. Listen, Punk was always great to me when I was coming up. We were really, really close. I've told the story of how I missed my son being born. Punk was in Pittsburgh at the time and was the first guy who held my son after he was born. We were tight. Fast forward a few years, I don't really know what happened. We sort of fell out for one reason or another. I said some disparaging things in a very public and unprofessional manner. We haven't spoken since prior to then. At the end of the day, rather than sitting here and wasting everybody's time, I'm a professional. I'm too old to hold grudges. I feel like whatever has happened is water under the bridge. I have a whole different life. I'm in a different place in my life than I was back when all that stuff went down. If it's right for business, who am I to say no? I'm a pro at the end of the day. I would happily do whatever is needed, and I would shake the man's hand and move on and see what life holds. Going over a previously scheduled segment for Karrion Kross, it was said that Fightful Select reported last week that Karrion Kross was slated to appear on the November 3rd episode of WWE SmackDown, which was actually filmed October 27th. We've now learned why that didn't happen. Kross had been scheduled for a backstage segment that also was set to feature Scarlett and Shotzi. However, sources within WWE said that the segment would not have made sense for almost anyone involved and was nixed very early in the day, October 27th. The segment ended up not being filmed at all. This wasn't relayed to some, as the segment still made it onto run sheets and was on the slate for the show as of 7 p.m. Eastern before the double taping. However, it didn't cause any major issues for timing, as it was a taped show and things were adjusted easily. And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all later.